Hi, welcome to another episode of DevOps with Duo. I am Abubakar Siddiq Ango, and in this episode, we'll be looking at how GitLab Duo can help you create the resources necessary to deploy your applications to Kubernetes. Yeah, your deployment, your service, your secret, and everything necessary. For the purpose of this video, we'll be creating an API like all the similar videos we've created before to create an API that tells you the current time in 10 different cities across the globe. We'll use GitLab Duo to create this application and also to create all the Kubernetes resources that we need to deploy our application to Kubernetes. The purpose of these videos and the series so far is to show you how GitLab Duo fits into your day-to-day DevOps or infrastructure workflow. Let's head on to the video. Okay, let's create an app and deploy it to a Kubernetes cluster. I have an empty project here, it's with Duo, and I will be creating our favorite application, an app to tell you the current time in different cities across the globe. I don't know why it's my favorite application to use for quick demos like this. So the first thing I'll do, this is an empty project, nothing configured. I just created it a few minutes ago. Now, let me open WebIDE and start our project. We already have a README, but first I will want to, since this is Kubernetes, and one thing I'll need to do is to make sure my application can deploy to my project is connected to a Kubernetes cluster. So when I'm doing my deployment, it goes to the cluster. Now, in GitLab, I can go into the operating menu on the left here and go to Kubernetes cluster. I've already created the Kubernetes cluster in GCP, so I'll be using that. So let me go here. Once I go to Kubernetes cluster, the recommended way to connect to a Kubernetes cluster from GitLab is to use the GitLab agent for Kubernetes. The certificate method has been deprecated. Before you create a cluster, create the necessary service account and other things for GitLab to connect to the cluster, but now you use an agent is the preferred method to do that. Now, to connect, I'll click on connect a cluster. Now, then I'll specify a name for my agent that I'll create. Let's just use the name of my project, let's use K8 Duo this way, and I'll click on, because we don't have one yet, I'll click on create agent, then specify register. Now it will share this with me, the agent access token that the agent will use to authenticate with the project, and also a Helm is used for the installation. This is the recommended installation method. There are other methods that you can try. So I'll copy this and go to my cluster here and run the Helm add repo. Then it updates Helm and installs the agent using this Helm chat GitLab/GitLab -agent. It uses this namespace, and it uses the access token that has been created, and this is the agent address that will be used at any time connection is to be made. Now let's run this, and it's installing okay, it's checked, the release doesn't exist, so it's creating the release. Well, voila, it's done. Now let's go back to our project. Let me click close here and let me refresh. Our agent is connected to our project, so we have a connection to the cluster from this project that we can we don't need to worry about in our CI. Anytime we're doing deployment, it just works now since the connection has been created. The only thing we need to do is to use the name and path of this agent in our cluster, in our CI as our context. We'll see that when we get to that stage. Now let's head on back to our editor here, and yeah, we have empty. The only thing we have here is our readme file. So let's work with GitLab Duo. The purpose of these videos is to show you how you can do a lot of things as a DevOps or infrastructure engineer with Duo. So that's why in all of the videos in this series, I start with Duo and work with Duo basically. Now, let's click on GitLab Duo Chat and prompt it to get started. So I'll say, I always like using let's since we are collaborating. Let's create a Ruby app, or let's create an API that tells the current time at major cities around the world. It should use Ruby 3.3, the latest version of Ruby, and we will deploy it to a Kubernetes cluster using, I will deploy it to a Kubernetes cluster using GitLab CI. Yeah. Okay, let's submit the prompt. I try to provide everything I need. It's an API where we'll be creating it with Ruby 3.3. We'll be deploying it to a Kubernetes cluster, and deployment will be happening from GitLab CI. Now, the reason why I'm adding GitLab CI because sometimes it just tells you, oh, this is how you do it. Then these are the Kubernetes commands you run, kubectl commands you run in my terminal. But instead, I want you to know, okay, I'll be using GitLab CI, and just give me the CI configuration for that. Now, aside from using GitLab Duo Chat, if you are already familiar with Kubernetes or you are very experienced and you know precisely the everything to do, Kubernetes cluster configurations are supported by Duo code suggestions. So if you have your Kubernetes resource file, it can do autocomplete for you, or you can prompt via comment for it to generate certain things, and within the window here it will generate them for you without you having to use chat. But chat is always handy. Now our response is ready, so let's scroll up. Ooh, that's a lot. Let's scroll up to see what it has done. Now first, we'll create the following components. First, we'll create the Ruby API, we create a Docker file, we create the Kubernetes deployment files, and we'll create the GitLab CI file. Now, let's get started. So the first thing we'll do here is, you see, for someone that is new to things, new to technologies or language, this is very helpful, as it tells you, okay, these are the different things we'll do. This is how you should do them. Copy this, and later it explains things for you. For someone that is experienced, this can be useful for, instead of spending time on Google, you can just prompt and and get help for certain things. That's how I use it sometimes for technologies I already know. For technologies I don't know, I work with GitLab Duo Chat. Okay, I want to create this. Okay, how do we do it? Then it guides me. Now, let's create our first file, our first component, app.rb. Now, so let me save app.rb, and there are two options. The first one is to copy, and the next one is to just insert the file. Now I can do this and it inserts the file. I think this is a new feature that was added to GitLab Duo Chat recently. You might not see it in some of my other videos in this series. Now, but I always, from some of the tests I've done, check once you insert to make sure everything here is here, because I've seen situations whereby some variables or some things get missing. Now, so we have here, this application, it's using Sinatra, and it's requiring this TZ info gem, and here it's showing a few cities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You can increase it to anyone you want, and what it does is anytime you call the main API endpoint, it returns the list of cities, then the cities and the time zone. This is, I want the time, not the time zone. So let's ask it to refactor the code it has given to us. Yeah, I would say refactor, change the code to give to return a list of cities, their time zone, and the current time in the city. Let's have 10 cities. Let's have 10 cities. Let's just say 10 cities. Okay, now let us refactor here and give us more cities and the time, not just okay, it's actually giving us the time here, the zone and the time in the response here, but you have to specify the city you want. I just want it to give me all the cities at once. I don't want it to do them individually. Okay, so now let's look at what it has done now. I don't want to access them individually. Now let's go back here. Let's review what it has done. Now we have 10 cities, and here for each zone it's getting the time for each zone, city, time zone, and also the current time in the location. Okay, awesome. So let's replace our current code. We have 10 cities, 10 more cities. Now we have, for each one of them, it's giving us the current time. Yep. And also these are the, so anytime we do slash this, it gives us this, and we can get the individual one too. Now this is good. So let's go back to the first response and continue setting up our application. Now the next thing, our API, the next thing is our gem file. So let's insert the content where it's using Sinatra, TZ info, and TZ info data. Pretty simple, nothing complicated. Now let's name the file gem file. Okay, that's all for this. Then we have Docker file. I think in a feature that would be nice, we probably I click a button, it creates the file, adds the content. That would be a nice feature to have. If it can be a feature request that I will submit. Okay, so I don't need this gemlog file because it will be packaged as part of the application. So we are using 3.3 here. It's exposing on port 4567. Yeah, so let's save. Here we do Docker file. So instead of 4567, let me do 8080, and in our app here, remember, are we exposing any ports? No, it's not. So let's do this. It will suggest for us a port as it understands the context of our application. Now, so we are using 8080 here, and now let's create our Kubernetes deployment. So let's come here and let me do it this way. And this is why I don't use this. Sometimes the variables are not inserted. I think it's definitely something I will share with internally with the team, or submit and create an issue. So this can be, because sometimes you can just insert and not check and not know that something is missing. So, and also here we've changed it to 8080. It's because we've not this is still the old response, so it still remembers the the 4567 that was 4567 that was used earlier. So we have world time API, 3 replicas. This is the label, this is the templates, and this is the container that will be used, and it will be pulling the container from GitLab container registry. Now let's create our service. Okay, but first let's save this. This is deployments.yml. Then let's create a service, and here, yeah, it's going to use a load balancer. The target port is 8080, and whenever 80 is accessed, yeah, I think this is fine. Let's save. So we have service.yml, and okay, now the next thing we'll have here is our GitLab CI. So let's create a GitLab CI file. Now let's copy this time and paste here. So it's going to have 2 stages: build and deploy. The first one is we'll package our application as a container and push it to the GitLab container registry. Then it will use Bitnami kubectl image to deploy our application, to run the deployment and also run the service. And it's marked here that it only does that when a commit or merge is done into main. Now let's save this at git.gitlab-ci.yml. Okay, but one thing that will have an issue is how will our cluster know, if we are using GitLab CI registry, how will our cluster know where to pull the image from when deployment is happening? And you see it's referenced here. So let's refactor our, first let's go through here and say, okay, GitLab, okay, in GitLab set project settings, in your GitLab project settings, add the following CI CD variables, okay, kube context, etc, okay, and so on. Now refactor the deployment /refactor to use the GitLab CI container registry with the right secrets created. Okay, so it should use it should refactor the existing deployment configuration we have and give us the right one with the right script. So here, let's see. So we have our new deployment created and it's using image pull secret. Yeah. So it's going to pull secrets from a secret that will be created. So let's change this. And yeah, it's just this line that was added. Then the next thing here is we'll add this to our CI, GitLab CI file to create a secret. kubectl create secret docker secret with this content. So let's go to /GitLab CI here. Let me even check if it will autocomplete. Okay, no, it didn't. So let me just do it myself and paste this. We have our secret created, GitLab registry secret that will, and you see it's the same name that we have in the image pull secrets here. So this is to ensure that our deployment can pull the secrets from the GitLab registry, because the container image will be pushed to that registry. Now, so I think we have everything we need Let's check. We have our Docker file, we have our gem file, we have our application. Everything should just work. So let's test. So here I'll commit all the changes. Initial application code. Now let me push to main, and once I push to main, I'll click on go to project to basically come to my project and see CI has already started. So let's view our CI pipeline that is running. We have the build and we have deploy. So if you go to build to package the container image, and we have our deploy job also, which will start after the container is packaged. Okay, our CI job for build has completed. Let's see, everything is fine. Container has been pushed. Oh, but our pipeline failed. I think probably the deploy job failed. So let's check the deploy job to know why it failed. Unknown command sh for kubectl. That's weird. So we can use do also to troubleshoot and know where this failed from and fix it. So let's use troubleshoot for it to analyze our job log and tell us precisely what's wrong and also how we can fix it. Okay, let's see, what did it detect? It saw the error, okay, unknown sh for kubectl, and it says the job is using the Docker image bitnami kubectl latest, which suggests that it's intended to run kubectl commands. However, the actual command being attempted is not a valid kubectl operation. Oh, so what are some of the fixes that we can do if the intention is to run shell? Do it with this. The intention is to do this. Let's review our GitLab CI script. What were we trying to do that failed? It's running kubectl config and it's running a deployment. Was it doing anything in the background? Was it doing anything weird in the background? Let me see. I don't know. Maybe bitnami kubectl has some other things it's doing in the background. So what we can probably do is to block the entry point to not run anything weird for us in the background. So let's bring this down. So we say name is this and the entry point is this, and let's try again. Then we push and we check our CI again. Let's go to here. Our CI job is running. Let's wait for it to run. Okay, our job has finished running and we have another failure. Oh, this is why it failed. We have this context variable. I forgot to update that, but we actually saw that it was able to detect the context that we have in the application. This is the agent we deployed earlier. So I'll copy this and update my CI configuration. I can probably just specify this. No, let me put it here. I would say cube underscore context equal to this. Awesome. So we should this should fix the current error that we have. Now let me fix or add missing cube context value. Then we push again, and we wait again for our deployments to happen. Awesome. Our job has finally succeeded. Yeah, during the wait, the CI failed a number of times, and some of the things I fixed were the secrets, the formatting. I had to put it in the second line this way, format it this way. It kept filling with name, and I had to remove the brackets that were attached to the CI variables. They were making it to fail also. Yeah, and our API has been deployed. A secret was created, deployment was run, and a service has been created. Let me go to my Kubernetes cluster here to check our service kubectl, because we are using a load balancer. If you remember, in our service here, we are using a load balancer, so definitely an IP will be provisioned by GKE. So let's check if the IP has been provisioned. Get service, kubectl get service. So we have world time API, and this is our IP address. So let's test and see. Our application should just work, hopefully. Okay, let's see what could be the problem. Okay, our application was failing. In our deployment, we have this, we pushed with the variables moved along with our CI. Yeah, so in the deployment here, this, I totally forgot about this. So what we'll do in CI, let's go to CI and say before deployment, I think even before we get to all of here, what we'll do is let's create a before script and add instructions to make sure the content of the files are replaced. So we'll do it this way. We'll look for the variables in the application and we'll replace them. So basically, let's have this line, look for CI registry : CI commit SHA, and replace them with actual values from GitLab CI here. Okay, let's make sure this is all good, and let's display our deployment file, cat deployment .yaml before it does so. Cat deployment.yaml. Okay, let me remove this and let me make sure what is in our deployment is, yeah, let's do it this way. Okay, this will be replaced with the actual values. Okay, so let's go to CI and let's fix, and then we push and we wait for the CI to run. Okay, our application is finally deployed, and let's check. I think we still have, I think our service load balancer URL should still be the same, kubectl get svc. Yeah, it's still the same. So let's refresh. Fingers crossed. Yay, it worked this time. So we have the name of the city, the time zone, and the current time at the respective locations. What did we change? This is why it's important to always make sure you don't just use what is given to you by AI verbatim always check and always make sure that they are correct. So, and definitely you need to test and make sure, test and fix whatever issue that you have. And often if you encounter any error in the maybe in the logs or anywhere that you don't understand, Duo Chat is always there to help you clarify. You can just paste the log in Duo Chat and it will translate and suggest fixes for you. Now, what did we fix in the application from the while we skipped through the CI running? It failed a couple of times. The first thing, like we saw earlier, is our deployment file had these variables added from GitLab. So we had to use SED to find and replace them with the actual values. Here, it totally skipped my mind when we did the first deployment. The other thing we did was to add this. So it generates the secret and before it applies to it. And then we added the rollout to show the progress of the rollout from CI, so that we know it's not just that it deployed, we know if it's actually deploying or if it has been deployed or it failed. And at the end of the day, after application has deployed, we have it running here. With GitLab Duo, you can interact with chats to generate code for you. You can ask it to refactor. You can use the root cause analysis in GitLab CI to investigate when your CI job is failing. And you can do a whole lot more. You can even ask Duo questions about specific errors that you are getting, maybe in your deployment and so on. Awesome. That's the end of the demonstration. As always, you can find links to all the different resources mentioned in this video in the description. See you in the next episode.